From Team Envy, we have the yellow Zerg spawning in the top right-hand corner. It is DRG.
And spawn here at the bottom left, we got our purple Terran playing for the Shopify Rebellion. It is Byun.
You know, we need more of these non-red and blue colors, in my opinion. I think that it freshens the matchup.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the great things about these GSL qualifiers is that they're not played live, so they don't really have to go for, with a strict color palette, and so the players can choose pretty much, the color of their choice. And it seems like Byun does love some purple, while DRG going with the yellow.
Yeah, do you think that there are any default colors that just sort of work really well per race? I feel like, for example, Zerg goes really well with purple, and then Protoss goes really well with yellow, because they've already got that sort of golden palette.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, each race does have their own color scheme, so yeah, that's a good point. What color would you choose for like Terran players?
Ooh. Well, the Terran Dominion is the only fascist regime that I know of in StarCraft. So, red is a fantastic color for that.
Oh yeah.
Not that I condone fascism, obviously. Yeah, so DRG playing a little bit safe. He sent out a pretty early drone there just to sort of scout out if there were proxies by the, I believe, third base position, the triangle third. But he's also got an overlord there, so I think that drone was maybe to take an early third base, and then he changed his mind and is only just now taking it.
Yeah, luckily for him, there's no Reapers on the way, as Byun has opened up with a reactor first. Just only making one Marine, or I guess right now the second Marine just popped out. But yeah, gonna be probably opening up with a Hellion opening, 4 Hellions maybe, or maybe more. I have seen Byun go for like one of those Hellbat timings with like 8 or 10 Hellbats and make a timing push of some sort, but we shall see if he does go for it.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I like the setup where you just produce a handful of Marines in the very, first stage of the game. And what that allows the Terran to do is to catch any Overlords off guard, catch them while they're still out on the middle of the map, before they reach any of the pillars. And so that's why DRG sent his Overlord all the way down to the very south, to the edge of the map. That way he can still sort of sneak it into the base without the potential of getting caught by Marines. So really both players are very hyper aware of what the other player can be doing.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, because the thing with GSL is that it allows the players to prepare in time, like ahead of time. And so what you will see sometimes is that the Terran players scout the Overlord pathways of their opponent, their Zerg opponent, and then they will just preemptively send their group of Marines to snipe it down. And so you do see sometimes Zerg players will change up their Overlord pathways to make sure that their Overlords does not get sniped down.
Right. Now, I feel like there might be a small chance that one of those SCVs at the natural actually did see the Overlord, but I really doubt it. So I think that DRG is going to be able to get a full scout off. Well, will it be in time? Because the armory is already about to finish. I think it should give DRG enough leeway to, prepare his queens, get them in position, get some lings out, which he's already doing. So I think that he should be ready for this Hellbat push, although there are Widowmines to support.
Yep, Medevac on the go ahead and makes his way into the main base. We'll be greeted with 2 queens here. And it looks like DRG does scout this in time, but oh, nope. Drone, oh, okay, never mind, does get it in time. That was quite close, actually.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. DRG confident enough not to pull his drones, but now we have the next 2 mines going into the natural. Looks like they will fire. No way, look at that range. Once it locked onto that drone, it was not letting go. So luckily for DRG, not too many drones did actually go down. But there is that very cute Widow Mine walking into the third base. I love that move. A little hopeful, a bunch of queens were already in position, ready for it. But you know, you do what you have to. I think that was very cute.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the idea is to have the, you know, the Widow Mines with the medevac as the main distraction, and then if the Zerg is distracted enough, you know, that Widow Mine at the third would be able to sneak in by, but DRG too good for that. He was able to scatter way ahead of time, so was able to stop that, and does lose relatively little resources. All in all, 4 drones and 5 lings and 1 overlord going down, so not the worst losses for our Zerg player.
Yeah, he's got a healthy drone count, especially when compared against the SCV count. Now, there is a tank marine push coming across the map. I think this could be why DRG has not actually gotten a 4th yet. Maybe he knows that this is the typical follow-up for a Widowmine drop. Well, actually, is Byun actually going to head on home? Looks like he's going to delay the push for a little bit longer. He's probably waiting for maybe combat shield. I'm not too sure actually.
Yeah, actually, Combat Shield is lining up similar
Quite
to
nicely with +1.
Yeah, +1. So he might actually go wait for a timing push. Just wait for the upgrades to finish. You do see him moving his units, and unbeknownst to him, there are a bunch of lings here hiding down below, going for a counterattack. But in the meantime, Widow Mine drop still going on here at the backside. Looks like it gets cleaned up actually, so the threat of Widow Mines won't be there for the next couple of minutes, but looks like Byun is going to clear up some creep in the middle before he pushes on by.
Yeah, he's got a couple of medevacs along with these 2 tanks in the back supporting the Marines, which of course are the main damage dealers. They're the main army that can sort of push the creep back. Byun being very cautious, you know, he's thinking to himself, I've cleared a lot of the creep, I'm just going to pull back because DRG might be ready with, you know, things like speed, banelings, that kind of thing. So he is wisely going to move back, and then actually he's going to try to catch these lings and bangs a little bit off creep, which is a really good move. You know, he's going to start sniping some of those banelings. But look at that DRG. He's just printing out so many lings, and it's just getting a little bit scary, you know. The turn has not been able to do any sort of critical damage in the early game, so this is the benefit of Zerg. Once you get the ball rolling on the economy, you basically become unstoppable, more or less.
And here we go. While Byun is going for the tag, at the same time, DRG trying to go for a Baneling bust at the front side.
Ooh, looks like the Banes and the Lings are actually going to get on in. A bunch of those Marines are going to fall, but that 4th base is very close to getting under fire. Those Marines are going to start working on it. But I think that DRG plans to just sacrifice it and build up his army at home. Look at how many queens he has. How many is that? That has to be like a dozen, right?
Yeah, that's like 11 queens there out in the field with a decent amount of energy to transfuse. But, I mean, he's kind of down on the army supply. If he can get some great Baneling connections, maybe he can even it up. But that's a great siege positioning with those tanks at the back as well as the Liberator.
Oh, that Lib and those tanks are doing so much work. However, the Lings and Banes are going to wrap around from the back. The Marines start splitting, but is it going to be good enough? It looks like some of the Marines will survive. The 2 tanks are also going to survive as well. The Queens are finally getting down a little bit on energy. Marines are going to stem forward and take down about half of them. GG is called. Byun is going to take game number 1.
Okay, so a quite standard game 1, I would say. You know, with Byun opening up with a Widowmine drop with the armory. However, oh no, I don't think it did too much damage, but in the end, you know, Byun, such a great macro player with in terms of army production, and was able to just overwhelm the numbers of DRG. I'm wondering if Byun is going to switch it up this time around in game 2 and just go for maybe a Hellbat timing, because it's kind of the same build order somewhat with the Widowmine drop, in that you have the factory with the reactor. You can pump out a bunch of Hellings instead of Widowmines, and then you know you still got the armory to be able to turn the Hellings into Hellbats. So I'm wondering if he's going to do the same thing here.
Yeah, I feel like Hellbat pushes are maybe a little bit more common than Widowmines, and I guess, you know, DRG showed us why that's the case in the last game. However, I do want to note that Byun was able to, like you said, consistently just pump out so many units, so many Marines, and he really didn't need to take a third base. You know, he figured he was going to end the game one way or another. And I mean, it's just so interesting how DRG was able to bust into the natural, you know, kind of worked on the main a little bit, but really the main source of damage was really just preventing the natural from mining. And yet it wasn't enough because, you know, maybe DRG dedicated a little bit too much to the counterattack. I'm not too sure. But that's kind of what it looked like because the main army of Byun was just too much. I mean, it took down the 4th, it took down all the queens. There was a Liberator doing really good work as well, and it wasn't enough for the Zerg to keep up.
Yeah, and also that siege positioning there was just absolutely amazing for Byun. Liberator is kind of, you know, just sieging up on the choke area, and then the tanks are kind of like lying next to the ridge area, so the surface area in which the Lings and Banelings can get on top of the tanks, not as much, you know, compared to like if, let's say, the fight was in the middle of nowhere, and you know, Zerg will be able to get the full surround. But
right.
This is a totally different map here, Moondance, and we'll see if Byun can get into a similar siege positioning. But anyhow, let's see here. What is Byun going for?
Yeah, it looks like he's going for a single medevac drop. Now, what do you think of that? Do you think that it's more powerful? Do you think that it's a little bit unexpected?
You know, I don't play Terran as my main, but from the games I have seen, you know, of players doing this, for some reason, it just seems like it doesn't get too much damage. Like Zergs usually have a good chunk of Lings by the time. Speed is done as well, and then there's a couple of queens to defend as well. Yeah, there's no stim as in those Marines.
Right.
So I don't know. It usually doesn't get too much done, but maybe it just forces the Zerg to produce some units instead of drones.
Yeah, that looks like it will be the case here. We do see 8 Lings on the way, and of course 8 Lings could be 4 drones instead. So just delays the Zerg a little bit. Look at that medevac. Just it still had its boost on, but it wasn't being controlled by Byun, so it was just sort of jumping out of the way of the queens for a little bit. But yeah, like you said, it didn't get too much done. It did delay a little bit of mining, and like you said earlier, it prevented DRG from just continuously making drones, but overall, it did not really impact either player's economies too much.
Yeah, I guess this serves as a little bit of a distraction while Byun was trying to get his third established. And of course, one of the great things about the Moondance map is that there is a backdoor third, which it makes it really easy to get a 3 base economy. Now, granted, of course, that their base does have less mineral patches and only 1 gas, but still, it's a lot safer than compared to the outer bases.
Yeah, definitely. It basically guarantees that Terran, and other races included, but I'm focusing on Terran specifically because you usually see them take their third base in the main, unless they're extremely confident. Right, but because this is a pocket base, you can take it on location and be just fine.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, but look at this. We see DRG coming out with a Spire, so we're going to get that classic sort of Ling Bane Muta play, probably.
Yeah, it would seem so, and the problem is that, unfortunately, Byun is attacking at this specific time, which I'm sure DRG would love to see Byun kind of stay a bit more passive, get that Spire up, and then start harassing. But that's a dilemma when you go for Spire like this and Mutalist. You gotta make sure you have enough to defend that initial push. That is always it can be a potential for for the Zerg. And here we go, Byun getting into a decent siege position once again. However, this time around only 1 tank compared to the 4 that was happening in the last game.
Yeah, probably more as a deterrent against those queens, which of course by now are banking up a little bit of energy. The Marines are going to stim forward, start working on the 4th base, which is only just now being started. Queens are going to start transfusing. Lings are going to see if they can wrap around behind. That Raven, though, I do have to say I like using the Raven. You know, it's kind of, it reminds me of the Oracle. You know, you have the potential for harass, and then of course you get other forms of value out of it in the mid game, in the late game. But at the same time, the single drop from earlier is going to start working on the 5th base as well. So this is where Byun really gets into his element, where he starts poking and prodding at 2 locations at the same time. However, mutas are on the production tab, so they might be able to start working on the medevacs. But the 4th base is taken care of by the Marines. Byun is going to be able to take care of that pretty quickly. The 5th base is now going to be the 4th base that DRG wants to protect. But these mutas are going to take care of that drop, it looks like. Yeah.
Yep. The Mutalist card has been revealed, so Byun gonna go ahead and, I would imagine, start throwing down a bunch of turrets, you know, soon. But if he can go ahead and stay on the aggression, he can buy himself a little bit more time, because usually the Zerg player will keep the Mutalist back at home to defend, unless in this case DRG feels like he has enough to defend at home with just Lings and Banelings. Gonna go ahead and try to find some damage with these Mutalisks, but unfortunately we'll be greeted with a bunch of Marines.
Yeah, and that one missile turret, I love how close it is to finishing, but it's just not quite finished. It reminds me of that Carbot episode, but anyways. Yeah, look at this. This is a pretty scary position for DRG, because he is going to have to come in from behind. Look at that Cheeto Dust going down on basically the entire Zerg army. It will manage to break this siege position pretty handily, I have to say. However, Byun is still up on supply. His opponent has, in essence, traded more efficiently, so he's going to be able to, you know, mass another army back at home. Whereas on the other hand, the Zerg has lost a lot of creep, lost a lot of ground, and some drones over at the natural as well. So I am not too sure who came out ahead in that scenario. I'd have to say that overall, in terms of tempo, I might have to give it to Byun, simply because, you know, the Zerg had to give up a lot of ground just to hold that off. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see for the next push how things go.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, he did lose a hatchery, and if you look at the resources lost, he's pretty much almost double the amount compared to his opponent. So yeah, I'm feeling it for Byun. I mean, he's up 1-0, and he's in great position to take a 2-0 victory.
Oh no. The other 4th base is now really close. Okay, so big Widowmine hits are going to go off on a lot of the Banelings. Mutas are going to take care of the tank, and once again, this siege position is broken, but oh man. Look at that. So DRG is going to get a pretty big cleanup. His opponent, however, obviously just continuously making units at home. It is DRG with the supply lead now. That is one thing that is going for him. But it's not a big supply lead, and he's still making drones, which is not really the unit that you want to be making at this stage.
Yeah, there's actually another group of army here down below, looking to push on forward. Good thing for DRG, he does clear up the backside drop, so he doesn't have to worry too much. He can allocate all his units at the front. And boy, oh boy, that 12 o'clock base is so low in life. Man, if Byun can just stem and take it out, then that would be really good.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why DRG has already pre-positioned his Lings and Banes just a little bit off creep, just to say, hey, I'm not going to let you take care of this hatch. Oh, look at that. The Widowmine has 12 kills in total. He's getting pretty good value just from, you know, sitting and chilling in a pretty good location. But now the old 4th base, the new 5th base, is under fire. I don't know if DRG actually has enough to defend it. The 4th base is also under fire, very low on health. Drones are going to be pulled. 4th base goes down. 5th base is almost dead. Big Baneling connections, big Widowmine connections as well. Now that all that's left are some mutas and maybe a handful of Banelings, but the kites are decent, but the mutas are going to be able to clean everything up. So once again, we see Byun getting cleaned up, but not before taking down a hatch.
Yeah, he's really doing some significant damage, economic damage, to DRG, and DRG is still stuck on four bases. We'll try to establish this 5th base, but I mean, look at Byun's side. He's got 4 bases up on his own. So let's take a look at the income. Oh, actually, no team heart here. So unfortunately, we can't see that. But we can assume that that Byun is doing pretty well.
Oh, after that one unfortunate Widowmine hit, I think that this could be game. I mean, now we have a Thor out. We have even more Marines. Another base just went down. DRG is, yeah, that's it. So Byun is going to take this series 2-0.